Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. I'm your host, Tom Howe, and I'll be guiding you through some of the insightful guests and exciting news content that we've enjoyed across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we join Carrie Morris, chair of Mevagissey Rowing Club, who rejoin me to look back on their epic Harbour to Harbour fundraising row and ahead to more events celebrating their 50th anniversary year. We check in with Darren from Man Down Cornwall this Men's Health Month to hear how the charity is creating safe spaces for men to open up, connect and find support when they need it most. As well as that, we take a trip to Camborne, where Greenfest returned for its third year, a free, family-friendly celebration of sustainability, live music, and community spirit too. If all that wasn't enough for you, well, we're going to hear from Jason Heaton, chairman of the Kernow Football Alliance, who are heading to the Highlands to take on Alba FA later this month. We'll chat more about the match, the team, and why this trip is about more than just the football. That's while welcoming Kath Wallace from the England Illegal Money Lending Team, who tackle loan sharks and support victims through education and enforcement, plus a very special guest, former England cricketer turned grill guru, Matthew Hoggy Hoggard, who'll be joining us to chat bangers, burgers and classic sides.
NEWSWAVE.
Mevagissey Rowing Club is well on its way to marking a major milestone, its 40th anniversary next year. And they kick things off in some style. Last month saw crews take on the epic Harbour to Harbour row, a 50 nautical mile relay from Newlyn to Mevagissey, all while aiming to raise £10,000 for a new boat and in support of two brilliant local charities, RNLI Penley Lifeboats and Fisherman's Mission. Now, I'm delighted to say that rejoining us now to reflect on how it all went, share stories from the day, and tell us what's next is Carrie Morris, chair of Mevagissey Rowing Club. For anyone who missed the build-up, can you just give us a quick overview of what the Harbour to Harbour row involved and why it's such a big deal for the club too, please?
Certainly. It was a row from Newlyn all the way around back to our Mevagissey, our home village. And it was in support of the RNLI and Fisherman's Mission, as well as to the club itself. As you mentioned, we're going to be 40 next year, and we're looking to raise funds for a new boat. Our existing boats one of them is actually 38 years old, so it's quite exciting that we've been able to maintain and keep her going. But yeah, we're looking to get a new boat. Built by Nan Carrow, who's been built the last three boats of ours.
Amazing. Okay. Talk us through the day then. Did everything go quite to plan, or were there a few curveballs thrown in there?
There were, thanks to the wind, that was quite plentiful. We started off a bit later because of the wind. So rather than 9 o'clock, we kicked off at 10 a.m. from Newlyn. Seen off by Zena and Pendine. So thank you to those gig clubs for being there to wave us off. We started off at the RNLI sort of harbour point. And we already knew that we were going to have some changes because Patch at the RNLI Penley had advised us we couldn't go around the Lizard Peninsula because the winds were too strong, and it would have been dangerous for us to go out in a wooden boat around. Or in fact, it's a plastic boat, but a boat around the peninsula. So the men kicked off and rowed down from Newlyn to Porthleven. And all ready to get very muddy because it's quite an opportunity pulling the boat back out of the water. I think they would probably prefer to have rowed around than physically move the boat through the tide. And then they then took the boat by trailer. So logistically quite a difference that we weren't expecting to manage. But again, everyone was so helpful, to Cadgwith, which is where the ladies' crew then took over. I think we pretty much blocked Cadgwith for an hour with that was some feat, getting the boat down through that narrow, beautiful village. And again, seen off by a few people. It was a bit of a tricky thing to get the boat back in the water. And then we were hoping that we would experience some softer weather with being in the lee of the land. But actually, the ladies had a really tough row, and it was a good 3 hours of us being there rowing out in very choppy water. Tristan, our cox, described it as brutal. I can certainly say it felt brutal being in the boat. But we made it to Gilly, and actually we did it in 3 hours, which was what we expected. And at Gilly, we then passed back to some of the men and some of the rest of the club. So there were 20 of us all in all, 8 of us at a boat at any one time. So we were sort of swapping in and out. From Gilly to Port Scatho, it was a much nicer row. Everyone really enjoyed it. The sun came out. The party started. There was music from the boat. It was quite a different experience to the morning. And then we carried on round from Port Scatho to Port Low, and then from Port Low to Goran. And that's where we again experienced a bit of chop because of going around Dodman. For those who are used to the seas, know that that's a pretty difficult part of the water. I mean, the Dodman is Cornish for Dead Man's Point, so I think it's pretty telling. At that point, we knew we were going to be late. We were getting into Goran just after 9 o'clock, which is when we're due to be at Mevagissey. But we made it round to Mevagissey, lovely waters, getting in about 10 o'clock and welcomed by a small but very delightful crowd, and the Wreckers Deli with a load of pasties for us all. So it was definitely a feat of, as you say, logistics, but also it was physically demanding and quite mentally demanding. I know that there are a few of us that definitely felt quite emotional once they were out of the boat.
First of all, congratulations, because that's an incredible challenge completed, something ticked off. And now you've done it once, maybe you don't need to do it again. You can say you've done it. You don't have to do the next one. It is just that, isn't it? It's such a test of your sort of mental fortitude as well as physically as well. For anybody listening that might not be aware, that might not have stepped in a gig boat before or something like that, can you just sort of paint a picture of how it tests you, how it challenges you, especially over something like a 3-hour stretch as well?
Well, it's a kind of very strange experience anyway, because you're in a boat. We don't have life jackets. The life jackets are next to us, secured to the seats, but we can't row with them. So you feel quite exposed. They're not the most comfortable of things because the seats are hard. We try and improve things by having some cushions, but after 3 hours, that doesn't really cut it. And then you've got a very heavy oar that you're pulling through water. We all, despite being quite experienced rowers, caught crabs, which is when the oar gets snagged in the sea, and at times you feel like you're going to be dragged into the water. So it's definitely a challenging thing. I mean, I'm not great with rough seas, so sort of mentally for me, it's just about overcoming it and knowing that we are safe. And we had a great cox in Tristan and certainly in our leg, and very experienced coxers all the way through. And they're the people that really keep us safe and make sure that we're following the right track and keeping in touch with people on land. It's a physically demanding as well as mentally demanding thing. It really takes its toll on your hands. These are wooden oars, so we've got lumps and bruises because the sea was choppy. Sometimes the oar would smash us, or either in our backs with the person behind, or in our legs. So I had bruises in places that I was kind of surprised to see. It certainly across my back.
Yeah.
But,
and I suppose, after that, all you can be thinking of is your bed or whatever, but you've got so much adrenaline running through you that it's just one of those events, isn't it? It just is once in a lifetime, that kind of thing. So I bet when your feet touched sort of the grounds, or you put the key in the door to get in home, there was a bit of relief. But at the same time, such an incredible achievement. Have you been able to sort of step back from it and have a discussion with any of your sort of crew about what an achievement it actually is and was?
Not as much as I'd hoped to. We did have a 50th birthday celebration, one of our club on Friday. So we had a few celebratory beers there. But we do have a club meeting this evening. So I'm sort of looking forward to having a bit of a kind of review of it. It was an epic day. We sort of started about 7:30, picking people up and getting ready to go down, and I think we probably all got home around 11 o'clock. So it's a long day. It's a physically demanding day, and as you say, you can't just switch off from that. You know, the adrenaline's going. So yeah, it was a very strange. Certainly on the Monday, I felt very odd waking up and sort of the buzz and all of that stuff. I really felt quite physically drained. But yeah, no, great. And the team, the men particularly, they rode at Zena this weekend and actually came first in the Team B race. So they were obviously still raring to go.
Straight back into it. No rest for the wicked. They must have been awful in previous lives. That you were aiming to raise £10,000 both for a new boat and to split between those two incredible charities. How's the total looking so far?
We're at online about 5,000 and coming up for 100, and we've got about 260 offline, so about just over 5,350, and still we're getting some donations coming in, and we do have some kind of company support, from the organisations we work for, supporting us as well. So we hope to nudge that up a bit more, and we'll be continuing to do fundraising through June. Thanks very much to the Harbour Tavern and Wreckers Deli, who've got buckets for us collecting money, and also we've got a regatta on the 21st of June, so we'll be looking to continue our fundraising efforts there. We're also doing a gig rowing a try on the 14th of June, so if anyone's about in Mevagissey, fancies getting in the boat, maybe throw a few quid in the bucket, we're going to really help people get out in the water and enjoy it, and not take you 50 nautical miles, but maybe a couple around the water.
I'm glad for your sake and their sake that you mentioned that at the end there. We don't expect you to do 50 nautical miles just like that. And I suppose we're talking about fundraising, but can you really put a price on a bakery waiting for you at the finishing line with all those pasties, when I suppose you were ravenous after that? You just needed some friendly faces and something warm to drink, I guess, as well, and something nice to eat.
Oh, absolutely. It was so kind of the Wreckers Deli. It was such a wonderful gesture. Lovely to see them. They'd waited until 10 o'clock to give us, and kept the pasties lovely and warm. They were delicious. And really very much appreciated after that long day. It was an absolute perfect way to end it. So yeah, a big thank you to them and for all their support, and to everyone in Mevagissey for coming out to support us and keep us going through the day.
Fantastic. There's you've set the bar now for anybody that's coming up to their big 4-0s. You've set the bar for fundraising and events, and some people take on marathons and stuff, don't they, when they get to 40, or some people just have a nice night out or something like that. You guys went on a 50. No, I suppose it's the 39th year as well, isn't it? So not even the 40th. Look, congratulations. And I'm really delighted to see how the community has come out and support you as well, and hopefully they continue to do so. The events that you've got lined up, we'll be sharing those more about those here on Chaos Radio. But just before we end the interview, I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you wanted to add that we might not have covered, or anything that you think is important for people to hear? It's one of those where you've probably got a million thoughts going through your head when you do this kind of thing, but is there anything else you wanted to add that we might not have covered at all?
Well, I'd really love to say a big, big thank you to the club, the members of the club, those that were in the boat, those that helped us logistically, driving people back and forth, making sure we had food and water, keeping us safe, keeping us warm, changes of clothes, and just generally looking after us, making sure that we were able and fit to row. It was a huge club effort. I'm hugely proud of everyone's contribution and participation in it. I think it was a really wonderful example of how when people pull together, they can do incredible things. So huge thanks to the club.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, Greenfest returned to Camborne at the weekend. Now in its third year, this free, family-friendly celebration of sustainability, music and community spirits was back at the award-winning Camborne Recreation Ground. With live music from festival favourites 3 Daft Monkeys, food, kids' activities and over 15 local environmental and charity stalls, it delivered a fantastic day out. I went over to capture the atmosphere, interviewing Councillor James Ball and Sally Piner, horticulture manager at Caerhelen Trust.
NEWSWAVE.
We've been coming to the Camborne Greenfest for a few years now. It's a brilliant event with the live music, the food, of course, and the community all coming out in force.
We've been involved since the first one, which I think might be 3 years ago now, and every year we meet wonderful people and we have a chance to talk about the work we do.
Hi, I'm Councillor James Ball and I'm the Mayor of Camborne.
And today we are here at Greenfest 2025, the third edition of Greenfest, is that correct?
Yep, this is our third year and we're very lucky that it has grown every year. And as you can see this year, we've got stalls all the way around the park, which is great.
And for people that haven't been here before, what is Greenfest? What does it represent? What is today all about?
Well, it's the start of the Great Big Green Week, where we start to look at and sort of ask the community to look at living more sustainably and looking at the climate change and everything. So it's a bit of education and trying to change people's way of thinking about the climate.
And it's a free event, isn't it? And there's an opportunity here to have some live entertainment, be treated to some live entertainment. You've also got different stalls here that you can get different pieces of advice, or you can speak to organisations doing some brilliant work. You can learn how to become more eco-friendly in your own life. And do you know what? There's a park. There's some nice food as well. There's a little bit of something for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah, no, it's great. There's one thing that we like to try and do at Camborne Town Council is try and make as much free events so that people can come and enjoy themselves. And as you say, we've got stalls from clothing right the way up through to food and coffee and everything in between.
That's such a rare opportunity to be able to give something back like that. What's the reaction you get from the local community to things like this?
It's really positive. People turn around and they say, oh, it's really good that we can come along with the family and enjoy the day completely for free. It's very rare that we can do something for free for families across Cornwall, so it's nice that we as a town council can put something on family friendly throughout the day and everyone enjoys themselves, gets up dancing and has a really good time.
And luckily, with the weather warnings that were in place, the weather hopefully is going to keep away for the most part, so you're able to go ahead as planned.
Yeah, we were a little bit scared a couple of days ago with what was forecast. And we've got a little bit of showers coming in now, but that's never hurt a bit of Cornish sunshine. But it's forecast to get better throughout the day. And we look forward to seeing more people coming down and enjoying themselves.
Perfect. And this is just one of many events on the Camborne calendar, if you like. The Trevithick Day was just a few weeks ago, wasn't it? We've got Greenfest now as well. There's various things that go on throughout the year. What can people look forward to throughout the rest of 2025 and beyond?
Well, like you say, obviously we hold a lot of events throughout the year. So we've got the Community Awards coming up the end of July, where we reward the community for their hard work that they've done in the town. And then we start to look then at the remembrance parades and stuff like that. Some of the key things that we have got coming up, some of our town deal projects are starting to come on. We've got Loweth Holman up by Tesco's in Camborne. That's about to be opened, and we've got the opening on the 16th of August. We're going to have lots of events, lots of stalls, lots of people coming there, and we're going to make a really good thing about green spaces in Camborne.
And we work specifically sort of in the mid-Cornwall area, but we go to places like Camborne and further east and west of Cornwall, wherever it might be, to kind of bring inspiration back in. I was really inspired seeing things like the library has come here today. The library service from Camborne is here today. You've got Highlands Trust, who have their shop in town as well, their charity just around the corner here. It feels like you've got almost a community coming together to celebrate the community as well as Greenfest.
Yeah, we're very lucky with the sort of stakeholders that we've got around Camborne. They all sort of buy into what we're trying to do, trying to give back to the community, and it's great that we've got the likes of Highlands and the library. The library do some fantastic work. They're not just fixed in the town, they sort of go out to people, and it's really good that we're bringing the community out and making everyone sort of care about Camborne.
We want as many people to come here today as they possibly can, but if they couldn't make it and they want to find out more information or get involved in any future events, where's the best place for them to look?
They can come onto our Facebook page at Camborne Town Council or onto our website. All the information is there for everyone to get on there, so yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered or you think's important for people to hear?
No, just obviously come out and get involved with our events, get involved with the councils, and it'll be really good to see everyone at our events.
Hi, I'm Sally and I'm the horticulture manager for Highlands Trust. We operate on a 16-acre site just west of Camborne, and we run an education section. So we have a 3-year education programme for people with learning disabilities. We also have day service provision for people from 18 up to 88 or more operating on this site, and we do a lot of growing. Vegetables, plants, flowers, trees, all part of our programme, and all of the guys that we work with get involved with that.
Fantastic. And how long have you been doing this?
The site has been in operation since the 1980s, and Highlands Trust took over as an independent charity in 2011, so we've been operating independently since then, although it is still a Cornwall Council farm, so we are we're managing the farm on behalf of Cornwall Council, but we are operating the charity working with adults with learning disabilities on our own, yeah.
And we're here at Greenfest today, and Mother Nature's thrown a bit of a curveball at us, hasn't she? But this is, I suppose, in line with some of the activities and the things that you provide. How nice is it to have this sort of on your doorstep, something for the community and organisations like you to get involved in as well?
Yeah, we've loved it. We've been involved since the first one, which I think might be 3 years ago now, and every year we meet wonderful people and we have a chance to talk about the work we do. So a lot of the growing that we do is based around nature, so all our perennials are bee and butterfly friendly, and we do a whole load of wildflowers. We also, as part of our education programmes, do a community tree nursery where we grow native trees from seed, and that works really well in our college provision. So to come and showcase that here, and we have loads of people who come to this event who specifically want to talk about native plants, so it's a lovely opportunity for us to showcase that.
And are there any big events for yourselves or events that you're involved in coming up in the future? And besides that as well, how can people find out more information if they're inspired to do so?
Okay, well, they can just come and visit us on site at Highlands, and we've got a website which is highlandstrust.org.uk. Today, if they want to do an activity at Greenfest, we've got a little trail of Garden Bird Trail which will get them to visit all the other stall holders and find them. Then from that they get a little poster to put on their wall. So they can get in touch. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well as Highlands Trust, and obviously our education has Highlands College Instagram page and a Facebook page as well, so that you can contact them that way. But obviously just pop along. We've also got a town centre shop in Camborne, so we're at 1 Trello Warren Street, which is just opposite the town square. People can visit us there or visit the market on a Friday, also in the town square in Camborne.
NEWSWAVE.
Right, I'm Tom Howe and you're listening to NEWSWAVE here on Chaos Radio. If you're into your football and love a bit of Cornish pride thrown in, this one is for you. Kernow FA, Cornwall's very own international football team, is heading to the Highlands on Saturday, June 21st to take on Alba FA. But it's not just about the football. This trip is a proper celebration of Celtic culture, community and connection. I caught up with Kernow FA chairman Jason Heaton to hear what it's all about, how the squad's shaping up, and why this means so much both on and off the pitch.
NEWSWAVE.
Well, first and foremost, it's an international representative side for a nation and a people, beyond the parameters of local league football or even national league football as now the teams going up the leagues, really pushing on, and the success of Truro, actually coming back into the county, smashing out the first season, getting promotion. We've sat ourselves at the top of that. Cornwall and the people of Cornwall are recognised by the United Nations as their own race, got their own language, their own unique culture. So that gave us the opportunity to put a team together that represents that and play international football. It gets the players beyond the boundaries, opens up the mindset, and creates incredible opportunities to play peoples from all over the world. Really, really special.
Now, this game in particular is being played in Inverness for the first ever Celtic Nations Cup. How important is it for Kernow, Cornwall, to be involved in these kinds of cultural exchange as well as matches of this ilk as well?
It's everything. You get to really have a sense of who you are, what you're about, and you get to pit yourselves against people that feel exactly the same. And I find that's an extraordinary development, I think, and it's fundamental to communities and how we interact with communities. Once upon a time, we were a lot tighter than what we are, I would say. And bringing it in like we are now within the Celtic nations, it's not too far away. The politic is acceptable and people understand it. I think it's just under the skin of most people is Celtic or Gaelic or whatever sort of word you want to bandy around about it, and people they're getting really excited about it actually, so it's really nice in that sense.
You mentioned a word there, community. There's a brilliant community element to the day too. There's going to be, for example, young players getting involved in the build-up. How do events like this support the next generation? And I suppose you said there, we've lost a bit of connection to our old sort of Celtic roots in a way. How do events like this pose maybe a brighter future for organisations and groups such as these?
It's inspiration, commitment. You join a team, first and foremost you learn about commitment. You commit to a team. It's not all about you, it's how can I play a part in this team, and do we achieve good times, do we do skill share, are we getting beyond just learning that leads us to knowledge, and are we becoming people of action? How a healthy community, sports-based communities, is healthy, and I think that's where we should be heading. And beyond and even beyond that, sports tourism. We're talking about purpose-led, passion. It's not weather dependent. For the most part, some of the happiest games you'll have is when the rain is horizontal, right? And the water's running over the top of your laces.
Yeah, we both know that.
So I've spoken to gig rowers, and I remember the World Championships when it was held in Newquay 3 years ago, I think now, and I was talking to some of the female rowers when I had a small restaurant just off the side of Newquay Harbour there, and it was like a mill pond, beautiful weather. I went, wow, what a day for you guys. And then, yeah, it's all right, but we love the big waves. And I was like, it was like two petite-looking women. I was like, really? Then, yeah, bigger the waves, the better. It looks better on a photograph as well.
Absolutely,
this is what it's all about. It's the endeavour, it's the adventure, it's the camaraderie, and that's what this does.
From a footballing perspective, then, this is about far more than football, but just stripping it back to the football for a moment. So from a footballing perspective, how's the squad shaping up for the match?
Healthy, and I'm extremely excited by the people that have come to the fore. Got a couple of new players in there, but they are players that we've asked, or we would have liked to have seen in the squad previously, either not available, or there's players in front of them that have been there that are peaking. There's always that. And then we've got some players that have been with us from the start. So there's always a good balance in there, but the management is still in place. So Darren Gilbert heads up the management team. Andrew Graham, head coach down at Mousel, is still head coach and he's still there. Wayne Roberts, goalkeeper coach, unfortunately won't be joining us as he has a prior engagement in New York. So
of all places,
I couldn't hold him back from that one. But the team's the same. The ethos is the same, and the philosophy is still something we're working on as per day one.
Wayne might not be with you for this occasion, but he's still, as you are, representing Cornwall on the international stage.
Yeah.
Would you say that this Kernow FA squad, the backroom staff, the people you're taking with you, the players that are going to actually be lacing up their boots as well, is a true reflection of Cornish football, both in terms of talent, but as well as that, the pride that comes with representing Cornwall in an international stage?
These are Cornish-born players. That's one thing. From within the squad, we've got 3 or 4 from Newquay, and we know what, for those that don't know what they've just achieved, it's a once in a generation achievement. Sean Middleton at the helm. Sean was captain of that team and played for them for about 14 years, I think. Is that right?
Even longer. Even longer.
A proper Mr. Newquay, out and out, ends up as manager. Talking to Pete Butterley, who was chairman of the club and been around the club for like 40, 50 years probably now, knowing Pete. And he says, all the players in that Newquay team now are from Newquay. He says, we did have to go outside of Newquay for one of the players, and he has to travel from Fradden.
All the way from Fradden.
All
what a
the way
commitment.
from Fradden. So I was just like, and that's what Sean's done. And they've won the league. So an astonishing achievement. Some out-and-out winners in there. Louis Price is back in. He had a cracking game against Chagos last year. We welcome in Harry Downing and
Callum McConey as well.
Callum McConey. I mean, lightning strike. And with Harry at the back, we're going to need it. Alba FA are an extremely tidy outfit. They have not played international fixtures, but they have been playing good games at good club level, especially in Germany on some recent tours. So, but then we've got players from Liscard, Ivybridge now. Harry Jeffrey's gone over to Ivybridge from Tor Point. We've got Penzance, got Gherkin from down at Penzance. Liscard, Newquay, Mousel. Nixon's coming in from Mousel. We've got a good squad. And we'll be taking it to Scotland and bringing a trophy back.
As you and I know from being involved in these circles for a number of years, Cornish pride runs deeper than most, doesn't it? Whether people are in the stands or watching from miles away, what's the best way supporters can get behind the team on match day? Are there any watch parties planned back home in Cornwall, or ways for people to follow along and show their support from afar?
Well, there'll be live match reporting. So Alba BBC, the Gaelic-speaking BBC channel for Scotland, covering the media for the game. There'll be live match reporting that will be then shared with BBC Cornwall. We will have our in-house documentary filmmaker, Liam Heaton, who's gone up through the ranks. He's been to university now. He's at Warner Brothers Music. So we'll be picking him up, and he'll be maintaining and looking after the sort of filming footage for that we'll be putting together. We have got, so for the game, without just running too far, and then there'll be the media coverage from Alba. So, but it's actually a good question, Tom, actually, seeing how if we can get that screen back home. But for the most part, we'll be working with the BBCs on this occasion.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so plenty of opportunity to watch it from the seat of your sofa or whatever it might be, but also tickets are available if you do fancy a little trip to Inverness.
Yeah, well, there's the travel up, which is one thing, and it's not, and we know how well Cornish supporters travel. Never mind the teams that are playing. Everyone travels well in Cornwall, but if there's Cornish diaspora up in Scotland that want to have a little knees up and a get together, it's going to be a fine ceilidh after, and but the game's going to be hot. So I'm really looking forward to the competition.
NEWSWAVE.
Now, June is Men's Mental Health Month, and with that in mind, here's Darren of Man Down Cornwall, who recently joined Zara Shoesmith as part of the People in Mind Roadshow to explain how the charity is creating safe spaces for men to open up, connect, and find support.
NEWSWAVE.
So Man Down is a peer support group that offer meetings across the whole of Cornwall for men aged 18 up to any age. And what we are offering is a safe, non-judgmental, clinical, environment for them to come into, to share and to talk, because as we know, men don't talk about their issues.
And why do you think that is? I mean, you work with a lot of guys, the same as I do on the People in Mind projects, and what are your feelings around why men are finding it so difficult?
I think it's partly to do with the way men are raised. We've always been raised to be the hunters and gatherers, to be strong. We don't, not to show emotion, not to really talk about their problems. I mean, when they go out, for example, a lot of men just go to the pub and they rely on things like alcohol to help numb whatever they're feeling. The difference is, for example, with men compared to ladies have a lot of their girlfriends and they will go out and have coffee mornings and have chats and everything like that, whereas men don't really talk. When they hang out, it's about football or whatever, cars, motorbikes, those type of things. They don't think about their mental health, and what we're trying to do is to reduce the male suicide rate across the UK and in Cornwall. We were founded in Cornwall. We are a Cornish organisation. And male suicide is the biggest killer in men under the age of 50, and we're trying to reduce that. 82 men a week take their lives to suicide, and they don't realise how easy the simple things can impact their mental health and suddenly make you crash and explode in that way.
And, a lot of the men that I work with, it's life events, breakdown of relationships, not being able to see their children as often as they'd like, all these things, not maybe earning the money they would have, they were expecting, or not being able to work. I mean, having a huge impact on our men. Yeah,
it is. And I mean, you've got to think in Cornwall here, more and more of our industries that keep these men working and in employment and everything are going. Cornwall itself financially isn't a wealthy county, and we've got farmers out there who are struggling to make money, and we've got people who used to work in the clay industry, especially around the area where we are today in the clays, where more and more pits are being closed, where in the past that was a job for life. Now you don't know if it's going to be open. So the simple things take an impact on everything, like you've said. It's not just that, you see it a lot with university students or anything, pressures of exams, pressures to succeed, to do something, not being happy, the appearance, the way you look as a man as well, especially in this day and age where everything is filtered. If you don't look a certain way, you can think, well, I'm not really worthy because I don't look like that person on Instagram. I don't look like that fitness influencer. I don't look like that actor. And that can take a massive pressure on yourselves.
Absolutely. So when people come to Man Down, like you say, it's a peer support group, what can they expect because I'm sure there's lots of men out there who may have thought about it but don't really know what to expect when they walk through your door, Darren.
So what you can expect when you walk through our door is a welcoming bunch of guys. Now, all the facilitators that lead the meetings have experienced or had problems with their mental health or still going through their journeys. And we have lived experience. Everything that we have is lived. It isn't book read or book learnt. We don't claim to be psychiatrists, therapists or anything like that. We're not medically trained. What we are a bunch of normal guys who are here to listen and support you. So when you walk into your meetings, you'll see a wonderful bunch of guys. There's tea, there's coffee, there's a welcoming environment. Yes, we'll be talking about serious subjects, but there's also laughter and that feeling of actually it's quite nice to go out and have a chat and a laugh with like-minded guys. We also say you don't have to talk if you don't want to, because the hardest step is to walk through those doors. And if you don't feel like you're quite ready to open yet, you don't have to. You can just sit there.
And that's really important, isn't it? That you take from it, you get involved and you participate or engage as much as you feel able to, especially on those first couple of times that people come to you.
Yes, you've got to feel comfortable, especially because you're talking about things you've potentially never spoken to anyone about, to a bunch of strangers. And often it's a lot easier to talk to a bunch of strangers than it is your loved ones, because you're worried about what they're going to feel and think and make you feel like you're weak or inferior because you're not a man. It takes a bigger man to be able to come in those doors and to say, hey, I'm hurting, than it does to bottle it up, because all that does is intensify those feelings and emotions.
Where can people find out where the closest group is, Darren?
If they go to our website, for example, mandowncornwall.co.uk, we have our website where we list every single date. We are in places St Austell, Truro, Penzance, Newquay, Bodmin, all across the county. You'll find
Bude, Liscard.
Yes,
the list goes on.
everywhere. We're also across the UK now. We are expanding rather rapidly. So we are in Devon, for example. We have meetings in Inverness. We have meetings in Worcestershire. We've got a meeting in London. We're all over the UK now as we expand to show more and more support across the men that need it, not just here in Cornwall but across the UK.
And that's absolutely fabulous. One last thing, Darren. If there's a man out there who's never been to Man Down before and is thinking about it, what advice would you give to them?
Just go. Swallow that pride that you may have, and you've most probably walked around the block about 100 times before you walk in those doors. Just do it. Just go through those doors, because there are guys there who are willing to help and to listen and support you no matter what you're feeling.
NEWSWAVE.
Now, illegal money lending is a growing crisis around the country, with an estimated 1.2 million people in England currently trapped in debt to loan sharks. Payments to these illegal lenders are fast approaching £1 billion a year, and tragically, 40% of victims say they've considered suicide due to the overwhelming pressures that they face. Joining us here on Chaos Radio is Kath Wallace, Liaison Manager on the England Illegal Money Lending Team, a national organisation who work to investigate and prosecute illegal money lenders while supporting victims and raising vital awareness. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Kath. For those unfamiliar with the term, what exactly is an illegal money lender and how do they typically operate?
Doesn't trip off the tongue, does it, illegal money lender? Whenever I say I work for the illegal money lending team, I feel like I'm confessing to illegal money lending, but I am not. So legally speaking, an illegal money lender or a loan shark is someone who operates lending money as a business without permission. So if you want to set up a money lending business, you have to get permission from the government, the Financial Conduct Authority, and they will do various checks to make sure you are a fit and proper person. And then there's all sorts of rules about what you can and can't do, what information you've got to give to people, affordability checks you have to do, what happens if someone can't pay, the right to cancel, all sorts of different bits and pieces. Loan sharks don't have that authorization to lend money, so they don't abide by the rules.
Many people think that loan sharks are sort of obvious villains and you can spot them a mile off, but the reality is that this can be far more subtle than that. How do they find and target new borrowers in perhaps vulnerable positions?
Yeah, someone said to me this morning, it's like Fagin, isn't it? And I was like, well, it's kind of like Fagin, but it kind of isn't like Fagin as well. So loan sharks can be anyone. We've had female loan sharks. We've had loan sharks in their 80s. It's not necessarily who you would think. The way that they target borrowers tends to be word of mouth. So someone might be known on an estate as the person to go to if you're short of cash. It might be someone at the workplace who, overhears a conversation about a car tyre bursting or school shoes or whatever else people moan about. And sort of chips in with an offer of help. We've had loan sharks advertising on social media, operating in kind of WhatsApp groups or Facebook community forums, that sort of thing. So it can be everyone. And one of the issues we have is the majority of people, when they take out the loan, they think they're borrowing from a friend. So all our publicity material says, don't go to a loan shark. And half our target market would say, I'm not. I'm borrowing from Jim down the pub or Marie at the school gates or Brian, who I've worked with for 20 years. But actually, just because there's someone that you know doesn't mean that they're not a loan shark.
Figures show over 1 million people in England are currently in debt to these illegal lenders or loan sharks, and that figure could rise to 10 million within 3 years. Why is this issue escalating so rapidly?
I think it's really hard to say. I mean, I don't want to ever poo-poo the statistics, but it's such an underreported crime. That's all kind of mathematical modelling. We don't really know the extent of illegal lending. It's something people don't talk about. We don't like talking about money in Britain. We don't like talking about debt, and this tends to be the last debt people will ever admit to. I think that the problems at the moment, though, fundamentally are around that people haven't got enough money to live off, unfortunately. So one of the reasons that people give us, that's the top reason at the moment for borrowing from a loan shark, is for food and fuel. So it's not for big, extravagant, expensive items. It's not for holidays or weddings or massive TVs or anything like that. It is literally to put food on the table and fuel in the meter. And I think that's one of the problems that we face is where do you send people instead? You know, it's a really hard thing to do. If you say don't go to a loan shark, you need to go here instead. And we promote credit unions, and credit unions are brilliant, but there are still people to whom credit unions cannot lend. And that's the fundamental issue.
And the impact, then, the knock-on effect on these borrowers can be absolutely devastating, can't it? Ramifications include sort of really serious mental health consequences against, amongst other things. Can you just tell us a bit more about the human cost, probably the side of things that these loan sharks aren't thinking about?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a massive financial pressure, which then puts pressure on your mental health as well. So a lot of the people we work with will pay the loan shark before they'll pay their rent, their mortgage or anything else, which means then there can be stress further down the line when defaults have happened and, bailiffs knocking or there's repossession or eviction and all sorts of other horrible things. But I think what loan sharks are very good at is playing on people's emotions. So they will work out what matters to you and threaten it. That might be your well-being, but it's more likely to be a bit subtler. So we've had loan sharks, 150 WhatsApp messages a day, hammering on your door at 5 a.m. So you've got to explain to your kids why someone's knocking on the door, threatening to tell your partner about the loan or your boss about the loan. You want to watch her. She might have a hand in the till because she owes me money. And it just escalates. A girl I was working with recently, she borrowed £50 for school shoes. And she agreed to pay back £250, which is extortionate, But she agreed to pay it back. She paid it back. The loan shark asked for some more money. She said, no, we're done. I paid you back. So he put on Facebook that she owed him money for drugs. And her mum saw that. And her boss saw that. And her Auntie Beryl saw that. And her old friends from school who hadn't seen her for 10 years saw that. And no matter how many times she protested, there's always a no smoke without a fire thing, isn't there? And it really affected her mental health, just the idea that all these people thought she owed someone money for drugs. So sometimes it can be as subtle as that, the control mechanisms, but sometimes it can get really, really nasty. But the impact on individuals is it isolates them, it chips away at their self-esteem. People talk to us and say, well, I took the loan out, so I deserve this. And they absolutely do not. But that's what it does to their kind of opinion of themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really sad. If someone suspects a friend or a client or a family member might be involved with a loan shark, what tips have you got for safely starting, I suppose, that conversation, and what support is available out there?
So I think that the one question we always say, if you're going to ask one question, we would ask, are you afraid of anyone you owe money to? Are you scared of anyone you owe money to? And that's the fundamental thing, I think, that people might sort of respect that. They might be able to respond to that because it's not a direct challenge. If you say, oh, you're borrowing from a loan shark, then 90% of loan shark victims would say no. So I think it's about trying to do it in a subtle way, and it's just making it okay to talk about it. And I think the thing to press is that the victim is not to blame. The person that has borrowed the money, taken out the loan, has done nothing wrong, criminally, morally or otherwise. It is the loan shark who is the nefarious criminal who needs to be stopped. And actually, sometimes one person reporting it can free 60, 70, 80 people because that one report could lead to us investigating, which then means the loan shark might be arrested and everyone is free of the debt as a result. But in terms of if you're having a conversation and you're worried, if people contact us, we don't just support those that have borrowed. We'll support those supporting those who've borrowed. So if you want to have that conversation with us, then please just give us a ring. We've got staff all over the country and we're here to help, and we can sort of model some of those conversations with you, give you some hints and tips and so on. We've got a YouTube channel with victims telling their stories, and it's much more powerful than me doing it because it's an individual saying, I was where you are, but now I've come out the other side. And I think that can be a really good way of talking to people, is showing them those videos and having a conversation about those videos, because it stops making it kind of personal, which I think helps sometimes.
You've been delivering on the back of that a really powerful series of free awareness talks across the country, haven't you? And these latest sets of talks have now taken place. So for anyone who's missed them, will there be future sessions announced, and where can people go to catch up or find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. We do free online training all the time. If people are interested in coming along, then if they email partner@stoploansharks.gov.uk, we will get some dates to them. We're not the police. We are a trading standards team, and we are only as good as the information we get. So I think it is about having that conversation with us. We are a mixture of investigators and support staff. We're not all about locking up the bad guys. We're about helping people too. And people can access us on 0300 555 2222, which is a 24-hour-a-day hotline, or our website is stoploansharks.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you to Kath Wallace from the England Illegal Money Lending Team for joining us. The team offers practical, non-judgmental support for anyone affected by illegal money lending, and it's never too late to ask for help. For future awareness events and more information, search Stop Loan Sharks England online. And please, if you or someone you know might be in debt to an illegal lender, do reach out. Help is available and you're not alone.
NEWSWAVE.
And finally this week, it turns out that Brits are firing up the grill in a whole new way this summer, swapping expensive meats and fancy fizz for bangers, burgers and classic sides. New research from Andrew Peace Wines reveals how the cost of living is pushing people back to barbecue basics, and leading the charge is somebody you might not expect. Only former England cricketer turned grill guru Matthew Hoggy Hoggard, who joined me here on Chaos to serve up his top tips for a budget-friendly barbecue.
NEWSWAVE.
Look, it's great to have you with us, Hoggy. Before we get into the food, can you just tell us how you made the leap from test matches to tongs and tasters? I'm sure it's a question you must get asked quite a lot.
Yeah, pass is my answer. I retired in 2013 and dabbled around in bits and bats, but didn't find anything that I was passionate about. And I sat down and had a discussion with my wife, and she said, you need to find something that you really care about. And I said, eating and drinking. And we decided that we should open up a barbecue school and teach people how to get the best out of their grills.
Fantastic. Now, we're talking today about this new research that shows that Brits are ditching the bougie barbecues in favour of good old-fashioned burgers and bangers as well. Why do you think we're seeing this shift?
I think, tough times. Everybody's feeling the belts tighten. And do you know what? Barbecuing, eating food doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be all out every time we see a little bit of sun. We don't have to go spend 60, 70 quid down at the supermarket or the butcher's. And you don't have to have 3 starters, 3 main courses to have a lovely meal. So the research shows that we cook far too much food. We undercook our chicken, we burn our sausages, and we have a stressful time while we're doing it. So that's why, with the research, we've teamed up with dare I say we've teamed up with an Australian? So yeah, we've teamed up with an Australian, Andrew Peace, makes delicious grape juice or wine. And with the information we've got from the research to create a value menu. We're going back to bangers, we're going back to hot dogs, we're going back to chicken, we're going back to burgers, that you can feed a family of 4 for 30 quid, including a delicious bottle of wine.
Excellent. Look, it was fascinating to see how strong people's barbecue opinions are as well. I saw from the research 70% admitted to being control freaks when it comes to a barbecue. With that in mind, what are some of the more common grilling mistakes that you might see?
Yeah, being a control freak. Rubbish charcoal. Easy light, instant light charcoal. It's pumped full of petroleum products just to make it easy light, and you can get all them chemical and horrible smells getting into your food. And it's normally a softer wood, so it goes from hot to cold very quickly. So invest in decent charcoal, use your lid and the airflow through your grill a lot better. And if you buy a meat probe, it doesn't have to cost you the earth. A cheap meat probe, it takes the guesswork out of cooking your chicken. So invest in proper charcoal, use your lid and airflow through your grill so you can go from hot to a softer heat very easily. And invest in a meat probe.
Excellent. And location's a big thing for me as well. Do you think the perfect barbecue spot depends on where you are? You're obviously a proud Yorkshireman and we're down here in Cornwall. Are you more of a back garden kind of guy, or do you like to take the grill out and about, maybe to the beach or on the road, wherever it might be?
as you say, the sport can make a massive difference, but it's the people that you're with. It's creating that time to sit around and chat and spend time with your loved ones, with your friends, and enjoy everybody's company. So it doesn't matter whether it's on a patio, on a balcony, at the beach, doesn't matter where it is, as long as you're sharing good food, good wine with your friends and family.
You've been designing recipes to feed a family of 4 for under £30. What are a couple of your favourites? Something that's delicious, easy to make and kind on the wallet too. And maybe you could drop in a drinks partner there as well.
Yeah, so hot dogs. I love a hot dog. Get a lovely sausage. Doesn't put Tex-Mex on it. You can spice it up. You can put your onions on it. You can put your chilies on it. You can put your mustard and everything. You can spice it. I love putting them crunched up nachos on the top with some jalapenos and making it nice and spicy. And I love being able to get all the ingredients that we've put in our menus at Tesco's and shared with Andrew Peace. So
families are so busy, aren't they? And we talked about the cost of living, so it can be quite difficult, but this is something that can get you all together and you can eat well as well, can't you?
Yeah, we've put a foolproof plan together. We've put the menus and the methods. We've got chicken in there, we've got hot dogs, we've got halloumi, we've got potato salads in there. And yeah, we've created a menu for 30 quid where you can get delicious food and a delicious bottle of Andrew Peace wines, all from Tesco. So you can pick up all the ingredients from the supermarket and you can sit down and have a lovely, delicious food for under 30 quid with a cool glass of Chardonnay and enjoy everybody's company.
Job done. Fantastic. You're talking about company. Who would be your sort of go-to guests for a nice barbecue around your place? Alive, dead, people that you might know, maybe you shared a dressing room with, maybe you have never met, idols, whatever it might be. Who would you be inviting to your cookout?
Well, that's a big question to drop in there. I'm going with Einstein. I think he'd be quite interesting to pick his brains.
Solid start.
I'll go with George Best because I want to hear all his stories. Let's go with my wife and my child, obviously, just so
Safe
that
bet.
they don't hit me when I get home. And an Irish band, maybe the Dubliners. So we can have a little sing-song while we're having a little drink and delicious food.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NEWSWAVE. A big Chaos Radio thank you to Carrie Morris, chair of Mevagissey Rowing Club, to everybody that joined us at Greenfest 2025, to chairman of Kernow Football Alliance Jason Heaton, Darren from Man Down Cornwall, Kath Wallace of the England Illegal Money Lending Team, and to England cricketer turned grill guru Matthew Hoggy Hoggard. And as ever, a final thank you to you for listening and helping support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as to check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaos.radio. And remember, if you have a local news story that you'd like to share with us, do email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. That's it, you're up to date here on Chaos. I'm Tom Howe, thanks very much for listening.
NEWSWAVE.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.